This woman was arrested in Florida for allegedly threatening Blue Cross Blue Shield employees in a Luigi Mangione copycat situation. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a woman being arrested in Florida for allegedly threatening Blue Cross Blue Shield employees in the same way that Luigi Mangione may have done. Now, let's go back to the whole crime with Luigi Mangione and the CEO of United Healthcare. Now, allegedly, from reports, there were shell casings at the scene of the crime that had the words deny, defend, depose written on them. Now, the woman used words that were similar to that and an obvious callback to him. And of course, Blue Cross Blue Shield, this is an insurance company, health insurance. So she's frustrated and echoing some of the same sentiments that Luigi Mangione did. Now, a little bit more context, they've done some research and it was revealed that Mangione was not a client or customer, whatever you want to call it, of United Healthcare. He just happened to pick on this guy because he's looking at numbers and he says that it's unfair, some commie type of talk, right? And then the woman wants to copycat and do the same thing that he's doing. But you know what? Before I get to the video, I want to say this. Just because your claim was denied does not mean there's something wrong with an executive or the company. There's a lot of other factors that go into it. And once you realize that maybe your focus is not going to be just on one person who is an employee of a conglomerate that has over 400,000 employees. And before I go any further, let's get to the actual news clip. I will link to this in the box. If you're on IG, visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
And this evening, a Lakeland woman is behind bars accused of making threats to an insurance company over the phone. The FBI says 42-year-old Brianna Boston used the phrase delay, deny, and depose in an outburst while speaking with a Blue Cross Blue Shield agent.
Yeah, this is similar to the phrase police found on evidence at the scene of the insurance CEO's murder in Tampa Bay's Aduria Chumba. Live with us in studio this evening. Tell us what we've learned so far.
So those words found last week on the bullet casing in Brian Thompson's murder, and they're considered very serious. Now, tonight, Brianna Boston is learning a hard lesson after investigators say she used those very exact words during a phone call. Now, according to an affidavit from Lakeland Police, Boston made the threats on December 10 after being denied medical insurance claims. Now, the document quotes Boston as saying, delay, deny, depose. You people are next, to an agent on the phone just before the call ended. Now, Blue Cross and Blue Shield was alerted, or rather alerted the FBI. They in turn contacted Lakeland Police, and Boston was subsequently arrested. She now faces charges of written threats to conduct a mass shooting or an act of terrorism. Now, in court today, the state requested elevated bond and very strict pretrial release conditions. Boston's attorney said the words from the mom of three with no prior convictions should not be taken seriously as she doesn't own or have access to firearms, but the judge was not lenient.
There is probable cause for the charge. The charge is written threat to kill or injure, conduct a mass shooting or an act of terrorism. That's a second-degree felony, punished by 15 years in Florida State Prison. I do find that the bond of $100,000 is appropriate considering the status of our country at this point.
While Boston may not have access to weapons, there are concerns about online rhetoric and copycats targeting other healthcare CEOs and business leaders. Now, here's what NYPD's Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence and Counterterrorism said about the issue.
Now, let's pause. Before we get to that, I just want to say this. Some are going to be screaming at me right now. You might write in the comments, oh, was she really going to do anything? She has no prior record. Well, did Luigi Mangione have a prior record? Everybody loved him, said he was the best guy in the world. I mean, so just because there's no prior record and you don't appear to be a person that will crash out like that does not mean that you won't do it. Also, you can't just let this kind of stuff go on because people want to copycat, they want to issue threats, and then they might want to carry it out. So you got to, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to see it, make an example out of some people. You want to try to threaten people with this kind of stuff, then hey, okay, you know what? There's a penalty for that. You can't just go doing that. That also makes the workplace unsafe. It makes it kind of not as secure as it should be. So it goes deeper than just saying something on the phone that you think is not really a big deal. What you say does have consequences at times. and people talking about freedom of speech. Well, I mean, can you threaten me and just say whatever you want to say, but no retaliation? If you say, hey, I'm going to shoot you, and I pull my gun out and I shoot you, do I go to prison? I'm responding to your threat. I feel it for my life. You said you were going to shoot me. So you see how that works? So nah, I don't feel any kind of sympathy for her. Anybody that want to do a copycat, try to threaten people. And here's what I was talking about before. People want to blame Brian Thompson because of the actions or lack thereof of United Healthcare, as if he's the guy on the phone denying the claim, as if he is a federal government making requirements that the company's got to abide by, as if he is the board, as if he is the shareholders. You know, this is just one person. And that same frustration against him can also be given to the employees, because like the person you talk to on the phone, that is who the woman was threatening. She's upset. She got denied. She's going to threaten anybody affiliated with the company, from the executive on down to the janitor. Thousands upon hundreds of thousands of people you're talking about, not just one individual. And you're threatening the lives and livelihoods of all of them. So nah, that shouldn't be tolerated, but I'm getting triggered, so I digress. Let's hear from, what was it, the NYPD person?
And it's a sentiment shared by law enforcement leaders.
There are also posters that we've seen online and in New York with various CEOs' pictures on them. These are perceived threats, and it is important for everybody to know that we will take these threats very seriously.
Under Florida law, penalties for making such threats can land you in prison for 15 years if convicted. For now, the judge says if Boston meets her bond, she'll remain on restricted house arrest with an ankle monitor. She also must have no contact with any Blue Cross Blue Shield staff, whether in person or electronically.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying, send her up the road, send her to the penitentiary, but keep an eye on her, because you never know, man. Somebody says something like that. The old saying goes, when you see something, say something. Okay, let's say somebody is frustrated with their school. They're mad, they're getting bullied, they got a bad grade, whatever it is. And then they want to call the school, issuing a bomb threat, talking about we're going to shoot it up, all this and that. So you're just going to let it go? And then if you let it go, talking about, oh, they were just blowing off steam, they didn't really mean anything, they have no prior record, they're squeaky clean, and then they go to the school the next day and shoot it up and people die. People are going to say, well, where was the police? What were there any kind of red flags? And what they're going to do is go look and say, oh, there was a threat issue the day before or 2 days before, and nobody took it seriously. Nobody did anything. There was no added security. There was no monitoring of the person that made the threat. You see what I'm saying? So they may not follow through with the threat, but you got to take these threats seriously, especially at a time like this, where after such a high publicized case, there's going to be copycats. So I think this is most certainly the correct thing to do. But as I close, I want to say this. If you got a problem with health insurance and the way that they approve or deny or whatever, well, you got to take a step back and evaluate. Are you in good shape? Are you doing whatever you can do to take care of yourself? I don't think you have a right to make the insurance companies cover whatever you want them to cover. They can deny you. That's part of it. Read it in your contract. If you don't want to experience that, then you got a couple options. I think maybe 2 options, rather than crashing out and trying to delete somebody only to get sent to the penitentiary to make big rocks, little rocks. You got 2 things you can do. First thing, keep yourself in shape, right? Keep yourself in shape. That's one thing. All right. But beyond that, go to your local government and your federal government. Go to your House reps, your state people, go to everybody, because a lot of what you're experiencing right now is a result of the federal government making regulations. Obamacare is not a thing you get. It's not a plan. Hey, I have the Obamacare plan. Ain't no such thing. What people have are regular insurance plans, like from Blue Cross Blue Shield, that are adhering to the Affordable Care Act regulations, which is a federal government thing. So that could be the reason why you got denied, or other reasons, aside from just, okay, the person on the phone I'm frustrated with, so I'm going to threaten to delete them. You see how that works? But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that this person shouldn't have been charged? Okay, you're making a threat against regular people on the phone, and that should be okay. And then if they follow through with the threat when nothing is done, then who's to blame? Who's to blame? you know who she is, you know what the threat was, you know how sensitive that situation is right now. You know she might want to go off the deep end and do something like that. So if she does it, but nothing was done to prevent it, then who's to blame? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I mean, there's got to be penalties for these kind of things. Nip it in the bud, make an example, because what you don't want is a bunch of people like, hey, you don't want a bunch of these type of individuals running around town, making threats, possibly following through to regular everyday normies that are innocent people. Okay, that's not what you want to do. Look, insurance companies may not be the best, but crashing out, hurting somebody is not going to change it. If you want to hurt the CEO, guess what? The board will replace that person within 24 to 48. They'll put somebody else in there, an interim chair. They do that all day long. And then the person on the phone, they're just trying to work and go home to their wife and their kids, or their kids with no significant other. They're just trying to make ends meet. And you want to try to ruin them and ruin their day and ruin their life? Nah, you need to get sent to the penitentiary. You need to learn that you cannot do that in this society without the proper consequences to follow. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.